What do I want? It's a question that everyone eventually has to ask themselves. The key motivator for every action taken. The cause behind every effect. So, what do I want? I want to go to a sporting event in every major venue. I want to grow within my relationships with my friends and my family. I want the freedom to create without the fear of failure. I want to dream without being hindered by reality. I want to chase new passions, new experiences, and new goals. I want OldMilk to branch out of the box and try new things. I'm accomplishing some of these goals right now, and I know what I need to do to achieve the rest of them. However, the one thing you should take away from this commercial is, I want you to buy OldMilk merch. Because we got the hoodie, we got the new hoodie here, and
I like it.
Thank you. And now we need the air conditioner on because I need a reason to wear it.
Of course.
Yeah. How you doing, man?
I can't complain. Crazy amount of music that came out today.
Insane.
And it's kind of like my favorite sort of releases where it's not like one dominates the rest. Like, I think to me, not in terms of sales or anything, but just in terms of importance and how much we've been waiting for it. To me, like, Freddie is obviously the peak of that, but like for other people, it's definitely Kid Cudi. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like YG came out, Tory Lanez came out. LeBron's been loving that Tory Lanez. I know he's gonna catch some heat for that.
Yeah.
So
Big
it's just
30
a
also
lot.
came out.
Yeah, Big 30. Big 30, that album's really, really good.
Yeah. I mean, not to tease the viewers on our next episode, but that will be our next episode. Talking about Freddie Gibbs today. Soul separately. But yeah, no, you're right. There's just been so much, and it's crazy because the last 3 weeks, the only artist that was really of note that released since we recorded that Nav episode was ESTG, and it's just been bare bones for the rest of those weeks. So to have like 6 or 7 artists, because even you have Baby Tate, you have Boldy James. There's just been so much music that's been released today. I've only listened to 3 out of the, I want to say 7 albums that I want to listen to this week. So
yeah, same.
Yeah. You want to get into it? You ready?
Yeah.
All right. It's why we're here. Welcome to the Cat Podcast. This is episode 319. I am your host, Nate Sperlin, with my co-host, Taylor McLeod, all over there in that Brooklyn Dodgers fitted cap, which is a very nice fitted cap. It reminds me of a time when Brooklyn had a sports team where the main stars didn't ask for trades, but that's a different story for a different day.
They couldn't. You're gonna play all 17 years of your career here, and we don't care. Yeah. We don't care how bad it will be for your body at the end. We don't care. What is it? The Stephen A. We don't care.
Thank you for watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher, and more. Do us a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Also, do us a favor and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I was going to say TikTok and Twitter. It don't matter. At OldMilk Media, and check out the OldMilk Spins playlist on Spotify and YouTube. Also, check out all the OldMilk content on oldmilk.co. That being said, it is time for the main event, at least amongst our group chat, Taylor. It is time to talk about Freddie Gibbs' Soul Sold Separately, 15 tracks, 46 minutes long, featuring Kelly Price, Offset, Moneybagg Yo, Rick Ross, Anderson .Paak, Raekwon, DJ Paul, Pusha T, Music Soul Child, and Scarface. That being said, Taylor, what were your first initial impressions on Soul Sold Separately?
From the first song, and this is something we knew a year ago when Freddie kind of hinted at who was going to be, production, or who had production on the album. From the very first song, from Couldn't Be Done, those like the extra punches layered on those drums, it like immediately gives you like we're here. This is a
Yeah.
this is a this is a rap album. This is a very much you and I have talked about it so much. This is an intentional project.
Mhm.
Like there is no let me just get 15 beats and go. It's very much all right. This is the one. And my first impressions after one listen, I've listened to it a couple times over the last 24 hours. My very first impressions was that like it's in the same lane. It's just this project is put together on purpose. The songs are where they are on purpose. And Freddie's really rapping. Like, not to say like that's what he does.
Yeah.
It's refreshing to get a rapper who is known as a like a not so much like a rapidy rapper, but you know what I mean. Like hits
Yeah.
bars, and he's that's what it is. That's what it is front to back. And I think for a rapper of Freddie's stature and just how long he's been involved in the quality of his other projects, I think it's not a surprise, but it is a breath of fresh air to get a prolific rapper just rapping 15 songs and understanding how to use his talents in a variety of ways. I think you and I might disagree on that a little bit, but I think it's impressive that he he's a faster rapper, but it doesn't feel like Eminem where he's like,
Yeah.
"Yo, look how fast I can rap." It's no, this is just how I rap, and let me bend this into each instrumental. So, first impressions was that this project is very much on purpose. I really, really enjoyed it off a couple listens, and I'm probably gonna have to shift up my album of the year conversation. It's not one, but it's certainly top 10. It could be top 5 for me.
Okay. Um, First of all, the atmosphere built on this album with all the Triple S hotel interludes and all the people who come in, like Kevin Durant and others. There's really one interlude that I really didn't like, but aside from that, like the rest of them are great, amazing. The atmosphere, again, to your point, we kind of say this word a lot, but I guess like if we're saying this word during a review of an album or anything, we're basically saying that the project is good. It's intentional. So I appreciate that. I also appreciate um just the production from track 1 to track 15, no notes. There's what can you really say about the production? And I'm sure I didn't really get a chance to look at the feature the producer list, excuse me. I'm sure maybe you have Taylor and maybe you could shed some light on that, but the production throughout is just crazy. I also like I think here's my opinion. I think that the album doesn't fully take shape until Lobster Omelet with Rick Ross. I feel like the first 5 songs are kind of there's something that could have been done better here. There's something that could have been done better here. For example, on the first track, couldn't be done. The mixing on it is kind of off a little. I can't really hear Freddie as much as I hear the beat and I hear those loud I don't really know what to call them off the top of my head, but those loud production. This is a production, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, Additionally, I feel like on track, what was it? Track Zipper Bags, that track right there. I don't like Freddie's cadence on that at all. It kind of gives me the feeling like Freddie's trying to be a fake tough guy in the same way like when Karl Anthony Towns deepens his voice. It's like, what are you doing? Like your voice by itself is regularly fine. You don't need to add any extra to it. Additionally, I think that Freddie is kind of hurt by his voice in some circumstances because like on Pain and Strife, I don't think his voice kind of collides with that 808 and it doesn't carry the way that it's supposed to. And I think that I can hear Offset way better on that verse than on that song, better than Freddie, which goes to his voice, as I just said. But aside from that, I think my first initial thoughts is from track 6 on, really good album. 1 to 5, eh.
Yeah, I can see where you get that. I think the first song is definitely the instrumental carries it.
Yeah.
Like you talked about that loud, like it is a production thing. I love that. Like when you get those drums, it could have just been like, the normal drums that you hear all the time. But that extra punch really like kind of opens your eyes for the album. And I do think in a way it kind of drowns Freddie out in a way, but I
Kind of
almost
drowns out
I
Freddie
almost
Kelly Price too.
yeah, I almost don't I wish the singing, I wish that second half was more, the mixing at that point. But like I don't mind that. Then to talk about the production again, like Alchemist being on track 2, you automatically know, you're like, all right, this is an Alchemist beat. It's like a familiarity, and it's like a comforting thing. And I'm pretty comfortable saying at this point that Alchemist's signature sound has shifted from those really like dark boom bappy old like late 90s, early 2000s Mob Deep Prodigy type beats where it's like it's just dark, and it feels like it feels like New York, even though he's from LA. Like it feels like New York. Now he's got this like almost like mafioso 70s like mob movie type situation, like soundtrack thing. And I think he's it's just we've talked about it with, you know, the Rock album and everything. I think it's so nice. And then Zipper Bags is honestly the lowest point on this album to me, which
Yeah.
is really unfortunate because it's a K Tronada instrumental. And so I would hope that, you know what I mean? I would hope that that would be a better situation, but I think you're right. From Lobster Omelet on, and that's you have Jake One who did the instrumental for that, and Jake One is wildly underrated. He's kind of just, you go on YouTube and watch his like behind the beat videos, and you understand what Jake One is, and to hear him do that, and even like to like pave the way for Ross in the second half of that song by really taking that instrumental down to let him work. I was a little underwhelmed by the Ross verse. I think it's good, but I think we've seen better from Ross. But at this point, all these guys are pushing 40 at this, so
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it when mad at it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's only we've only seen one or two rappers really keep it up this like really far into their 40s, and I think that like Hove is one of them, and even Andre 3000, whenever he kind of pops back up, he'll give us a good verse. And you have some of the legends like, honestly, my favorite feature on this might be Raekwon.
I can
That
see it.
verse, to hear him still doing what he's doing 30 years later, and to like he just he kills that. And we talked about it last night. You said that Feel No Pain with Anderson .Paak feels more like an Anderson .Paak song, and at first I was like, yo, that you're just a hater. Which is fun. It's just like if yeah, based on all of our conversations about Freddie, like it's just fun to kind of go back and forth like that. But I don't think that Anderson .Paak does a bad job leading that song and
Mhm.
really lending that song to Freddie. But that Raekwon verse honestly might be my favorite feature on the whole project.
Yeah. I think my favorite feature on the project is probably Pusha T's feature when he hits the 21. He said something 21. He's like 21 like Savage. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, Push, okay, King Push. You gotta call him King at that point. Um, I think another thing I want to say is I think it's kind of ironic how on CIA Freddie's like, don't let the clout fuck you up. I think that's just hilarious. It's like, what have you been doing for the past 10 to 15 months, but
Yeah. Well,
not letting the clout fuck you up?
it's crazy because the end of the song before, I think the end of the song before, it's Grandma Stove, where he talks about like having like real life rap beef, not so much Instagram beef. And I think we know what he's talking about. I assume we know what he's talking about with the Benny situation. But yeah, that is ironic. But I and I think the songs that I end up liking the most in this, we talk about the features, and I think DJ Paul has a great feature,
He does.
really keeping it within himself and bringing his style to a song and not trying to conform to Freddie. And I think Music Soul Child on Grandma's Stove has an incredible outro, or end of that song. But my favorite moments on this are kind of the songs where it's just Freddie
Yeah,
going. Like
yeah.
Space Rabbit, Rabbit Vision. I think Dark Hearted is incredible. And then,
Mhm.
like I just said, Grandma Stove has Music Soul Child, but he's singing. It's not like he's a competing rapper. So I really think the moments that Freddie gets, it's not necessarily, it is vulnerable, but Freddie has a way of being vulnerable, but still having like a toughness to it, like an edge to it. But I think that this more so than his other projects, there's some moments where you really get an insight into where these raps are coming from, and maybe where some of like the trolling stuff is coming from, and that it's like it's all part of this, ecosystem, and whether it's good or bad is,
It's up to the
up for
listener.
debate.
Yeah.
Right. But I think the moments that he's able to be vulnerable but still keep like rapping the way he is, I don't know. I think it's what makes the second half of this album really feel like the good album that we both talked about.
Yeah. I also think the pacing of the second half of the album from, well, not the second half, like the last 3 quarters of the album is what really makes it a good album. I feel like I don't think I like fast rapping Freddie as much. I think I like when he kind of slows it down. I think when he avoids the 808s and he gets more into the live production, if you will, those types of beats. I think that that's where he really shines. But I think that if he sees an 808, he should run away from it. And I think that the fast rapping can work in certain situations, but that can't be the whole song.
Yeah, for sure. And I can definitely, agree with that and understand where that's coming from. I think the fast rapping is it's just interesting sometimes to see how he switches that up because
Mhm.
we've seen so many artists do the fast rapping thing and it's the same every single time. And it's like, all right, like we get it. You know what I mean? And there are
You rap
moments with
fast,
every
okay.
right. There are moments with every rapper like that, but where it's similar in my mind to someone like and it's not as fast and it's not as like prolific for being fast, but like where Twista is able
Mhm.
to, you know what I mean, do his thing and in songs he's still going crazy on everything. Like it sound, you know what I mean? If you're not really listening, you could be like, all right, all of this sounds identical because of just how quickly he's rapping. But I think that in a similar way that Freddie's able to use that to his advantage at times. But to your point, the moments he takes a step back and it's almost like calms down
Yeah.
a little bit, it's like, all right, cool. Like this guy can I don't think anyone's ever really doubted his rapping abilities, but I think it's then when you see the peak of his rapping abilities and his ability to be really calculated because as much as I love like the hook on Too Much,
Mhm.
which I really do love where he's talking about like, stones in his wrist and like four Giottos on the bent and everything. And Moneybagg Yo might have some of the funniest ad libs in rap right now. Like they're always like a half second too late, and it makes me laugh so hard every single time because he's like halfway through the next line when the ad lib comes for the line before it, and it's just like only Moneybagg Yo at this point could really do that, and I'd be like, yeah, of course, like makes
Eat.
sense. But yeah, so I don't know. I think I don't have really many negative things to say about this album. Where Pusha T is your favorite feature, I was a little underwhelmed by Push just
Mhm.
because of the buzz that I'd seen on Twitter from people who had already heard this project before it was actually out. But I mean, if my biggest nitpick is that Pusha T's verse wasn't like up to S tier Pusha T standards, it's not really a nitpick. I think this is a really good album, and it definitely shifts the album of the year conversation for me. But it also solidifies that I think something we can maybe agree on or come close to agreeing on that. Heading into quarter four this year, Vince Staples is in really good position.
He is in really good position. I actually I was listening to his album a lot this week, but that's neither here or there. I don't know if this album really see, what's funny is, and I guess I'm giving the viewers a little bit of insight into our group chat. What's funny is that my whole position on Freddie the whole time has been that he's a good rapper. He's just not the best rapper of all time. And for some reason, that's interpreted as you hate Freddie. Oh my God. You don't understand how good he is. Everyone says he has classics. It's like, no, he's a really good rapper. He's not Kendrick Lamar. He's not J. Cole or whatever. He's just really good. And that's okay. But I say that to say I don't think that this album is really one of the albums that I enjoyed throughout the year. It's definitely going to be, I don't know where I'd rank it yet, but I don't think it would enter into my album of the year conversation, especially when you take into account the albums who aren't really as traditional rap, if you will, more like mainstream rap, like Gunna's album, Rod Wave's album, et cetera, et cetera. I could like keep listing. So from that standpoint, I don't think so, but I will say it's a good album so that someone in our group chat can finally rejoice in the fact that I called the Freddie album good on the podcast, even though I reviewed Alfredo like 2, 3 years ago and I said that was a good album as well, but that's a different story.
Nate reviewed Freddie.
um last thing, I think the two final things I do want to say is I think back to the Moneybagg Yo feature, he really finds the pocket in that beat as well. And I think that again, going back to how the first 5 songs are and then the rest of the songs are great. I think that in the first 5 songs, I kind of struggled to see where Freddie is in pocket. like he's on beat, but like like real rap
Yeah.
listeners know like it's just between being on beat and being in pocket. And I kind of struggle to see that in the first five tracks, especially on Too Much. And also I'm not really a fan of the Jeff Ross interlude on Space Rabbit. That kind of I like the song, but if I have to listen to that interlude over and over again, I think I'm just fine with forgetting the song exists.
Yeah, I mean Jeff Ross he's just the roast master. Like he's done every Comedy Central roast. He's just like it is what it is. You know what I mean? I
Like
think
it wasn't original. You're talking about like, oh, are you ducking your child support payments? And it's like, at what
yeah.
point does comedy become just stereotypical bullshit?
Well, if you watch any of his roasts, like that's what he is. That's like everybody in that world knows that's what he is.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I'm not huge on it either, but I think it's Freddie kind of like bringing this element of like we all go to Vegas and we do whatever we want in Vegas and whatever happens happens. Like I think that's part of the whole, element of this album is that it's like you're at the Triple S resort and casino, and that as the album goes on, those like little interludes at the end, not the comedians or not the, Kevin Durant or Alchemist or anyone, but like almost like the hotel talking
Mm-hmm.
to you, they get progressively more like
No smoking is
your
allowed.
right, your care is our priority. And then by the end, it's like
Get the fuck
something
out.
is happening in the penthouse. We cannot tell you what it is. And so I don't know. I think Freddie is so he definitely misses with some comedy attempts, but I think there is like a sense of humor there that's undeniable, and I think that's all built into it. Like even I don't listen to Joe Rogan, I don't watch the
Yeah.
podcast or whatever, but like him at the end being like, "Let's fucking grow," and then it like cuts it out into slow motion is just it's like little moments like that that I miss from old hip hop that like it was like, yeah, you can be funny too. Like it's not all about like either like being super experimental and everything, or it's not all about like I'm the hardest rapper in the game. Like there are moments where like Kanye is a perfect example. Like he's had some of the funniest. Like you go back to the first two albums and the skits and everything, they're like skits and interludes for a reason, and it's to make it feel like a whole project and not just here's 15 songs. Like see which one will
No
blow up
grace.
and carry the rest. Yeah, so I definitely see what you mean about the Jeff Ross thing, and I've never been a huge Jeff Ross fan, but he's like a staple in that world of like
Yeah.
grimy, you know, whatever happens, Vegas stays in Vegas. So it does add that element to it, but I wouldn't have minded if it wasn't there.
Yeah, no, I agree. What are your favorite tracks on Soul Sold Separately?
So couldn't be done. The first one is probably I really do enjoy that. Feel No Pain with Anderson Paak. Dark Hearted, and then Grandma Stove is my favorite song. So those
Mhm.
four. You have the intro, you've got Feel No Pain, Dark Hearted, and Grandma Stove.
Yeah. I got Lobster Omelet featuring Rick Ross, Rabbit Vision, Dark Hearted, Gold Rings with Pusha T and CIA. I do like Grandma Stove as well. I think I cut that just for the sake of being brief. I don't think I agree aside from the intro. I don't think I disagree with any of your picks. So
No, and just to like something I've always noticed, like just a quick last thought, something I've
mhm.
noticed about Freddie is like when you don't think he's in the pocket, the more you listen to it, you're like, oh, he's just in a different pocket. And whether that's, whether you want to put that effort in to find that other pocket is up to you. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But for like, I am a Freddie Gibbs fan. So it's like, once you listen to it enough, you're like, oh, he's not in like that pocket. He's in that cargo pocket, that pocket
Yeah.
down on the side. Yeah.
All right. This has been the Cat Podcast, episode 19. That is Taylor McLeod. I am Nate Sperlin. Thank you for watching. Share your thoughts on Soul Sold Separately in the comments below. Do us a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Old Milk Media. Check out the Old Milk Spins playlist on Spotify and YouTube, and check out all the Old Milk content on oldmilk.co. That being said, we will be back when hip hop tells us to be, which is the Big 30 album. So yeah, we'll be back. See you on the other side. Thanks for watching.